Hey everybody, Coach Peters here. Gonna give you a little lesson today on screencasting and podcasting and phys ed and health education. So without further ado, let's get right into this. What is screencasting? Screencasting is the ability to take a video recording of your screen. You're allowed to record anything you want to show. For example, if I had a Word document, I would be able to screen record that and talk over it with some directions for my class. So a little bit helpful there. What is a podcast? A podcast is an audio file that is a recording of your voice. Tends to have information or a story. Very popular nowadays. You can check some out on Spotify, YouTube, and the podcast app if you have an iPhone of all sorts of information. So just look up whatever your interested topic is. So where can I record a podcast? Well, you got three sources. AudioPal is a pretty solid one. GarageBand is a more Mac oriented product. I'm not sure it is PC accessible, but it is a whole recording studio, has instruments, you can plug extra mics in if you have them, and it allows you to edit and do all sorts of that stuff. And then we have Vocaroo. I use Vocaroo, it's the easiest. The only downside is there's no editing tool. Simply, you type in vocaroo.com, go on, press record, record your audio. You can even pause it if you like, and then keep going by pressing record. Then you just press done when you're finished, and you're able to copy the link and then post that link somewhere else, or even download that audio. So, where can you record your screen at? Well, Screencast-O-Matic is one, and Ice Cream Recorder is another. Now, I really recommend Screencast-O-Matic as I've used it in the past. Super simple tool. You have 15 free minutes of recording. You also are able to edit that video. You also can upload right when you're done to YouTube or download that file right to your computer. Only downside is if you wanted to show a video and you wanted that audio to be in it, it would not be in it unless you paid for the fee of having that premium access to that feature. Overall, super simple, quick little file you download, and you're already getting going. So, benefits of using a podcast. If you could not make it to school that day, you would be able to record a lesson for the class to hear, maybe some other instruction, or you want to change something up. If you just Google Classroom, you might be able to post that right, or not might, you will be able to post that right in there. Podcasts are a great way to keep parents informed on information of what's going on weekly in the class. You can also, if a parent wants some information and through email, you could record yourself and send that audio file of giving an update on their child. And then lastly, podcasting. You could podcast a lesson, or not podcasting, excuse me. You'd be able to record your lesson in class to help students go back and listen if they had a question on an assignment, which is very, very helpful. It's always good to have some audio. Say a student wasn't in class today, but they wanted to get that assignment done, they would have that audio recording. Or if I just wasn't, say I wasn't unsure and you were busy with another student, I would be able to go back and listen to the audio on the assignment, on the steps that I needed to get going. So, benefits of screencasting, you're able to record a lesson and show your screen. You can give your students a visual of instructions. And something I really like is if you wanted to introduce new technology or something, you would be able to show a step-by-step guide to your students on how that would do it. And they would always have a reference to look back on how to do this. So that's very, very helpful when you're introducing some new sources of technology. Now, how can I use these to help in PE and health? Well, you can introduce new topics weekly, maybe an audio file or a screen recording. You can record a weekly podcast. Say in health, you are talking about some stress. You could give some helpful stress management tips weekly for the school to hear. You could show new activities. Maybe in phys ed, there's a new activity you wanted to show your class. You could show some of that in action, and then your classmates will have your students will have a visual on the activity. You could also explain rules. Say, for example, in PE, you're going over badminton. You could give a visual of the court and explain some of the rules, or even show gameplay and say, this happened here, this person had a fault, this person hit it out of bounds, so on and so forth. And then you could also record a group discussion. Say in health, you're doing a paper on maybe stress. You could record a group discussion on that topic. Maybe your students need to write a paper on that as well. You could have all that group discussion down. Students would have the audio file of the facts that they could use to help write their paper, or just you wanted to post a group discussion of that, what's going on in your class, you could post that as well. So some helpful little tips there. And also, if you are a coach, this doesn't just go by PE and health teachers. All teachers can coach if they choose so, and if that's what they like. You could record a game summary. I'm going to use baseball examples. Say Johnny got 2 hits and Zach pitched a stellar game. You could write a little or record a little audio summary for the school or parents. You can give tips. Say, for example, say I'm coaching softball at Emma. You need to get your glove down more. Stay on the tip of your toes. Be ready for the ball. You could record that in audio. Show a new drill. You could show, maybe say you wanted to reference a new drill and your, or you could even show recording of, say you record your games. You could show feedback on that. And lastly, you have contacting parents or athletes with updates. So say you give out a weekly update of what is going on in your class. Not your class, your team. You could say we have maybe 3 games this week. We have 2 practices at this time and this location. You also need to have this color uniform this week. It's really good to give parents an update, and as well as your athletes. So it's something to think about. Maybe you try it once or twice, see how your reaction is, and then you go from there. And then lastly, we have digital citizens. Students recognize the rights, responsibilities, and opportunities of living, learning, and working in an interconnected digital world. They act and model in ways that are safe, legal, and ethical. So, this is essentially means we need to be the same type of student that we are in the classroom online. There's no different. We are still being respectful and responsible, and we have to stay in the same ways that are safe, legal, and ethical online as we would in the classroom. So this wraps up my little presentation on screencasting and podcasting. Please leave a comment if you have any questions or maybe even tips for me. Coach Peter signing off here. Have a good one.